Well, good morning. Me and my big mouth, we probably can all relate to that to some degree. We're going to be talking about that this morning. How many of you are like me and my family and you make tacos at least once to 4 times a week at home? How many taco lovers out there? You make tacos a lot? We're a lot of tacos at our house. We got 3 kids. It's about all they'll eat is tacos. And so constantly making tacos. But the thing about tacos, when you cook the beef, there's the fat left over, right? And so you got to get a filter to pour the beef and the fat into so that the fat will drain out and you keep the beef, right? That's what a filter's for when you're making food. In life, when it comes to your mouth, a filter's the opposite. You want to keep back what shouldn't be coming out and only allow that which should come out to come out, right? I got a terrible filter, okay? I can't even lie. I can't front. My sister, who I grew up with, is here right now. And yeah, that's right. And my wife, who I live with right now, is here. And so I can't, that's right. You're welcome for those cheers. See, my filter, I shouldn't have said that. But I mean, it's terrible. My filter is just not that great. Raise your hand if you're with me on this. You got a whack filter. It's just not that good. Doesn't work very well. I know. Your filter's just not that good. Now raise your hand if you got a pretty good filter. You got a pretty good filter, some of you, okay? Y'all have a better life, okay? You're not out there screwing things up, and saying stuff you shouldn't, having to go back and fix it, like I do. And see, I'm a verbal processor, and that means when I start talking, I don't know what I'm saying yet. I don't know what I mean. I don't know where I'm going, and I often have to go, that's not what I mean yet. I'm not there yet. My wife's an internal processor, much better filter. She thinks about it before she says it, which means that whatever I say, she assumes that when we first got married that I must have thought about it too. But I hadn't thought about it. I was just, vomiting it out and eventually landing somewhere. So the filter is a difficult thing, and many of us, regardless of how good your filter is, all of us have had moments in our lives when we let things out of the filter that should have never got out of the filter. And so today we're going to be talking about the problem we have with our filter. My name is Darren Youngstrom, and I'm from the Atlanta, Georgia area. I was a student pastor at a church called North Point Community Church for a long time, and New Ventures is a partner with, well, thank you, yeah. I didn't build it. I didn't have anything to do with it, but thank you for that. So, unexpected. But I was a student pastor for a long time, and this series, Me and My Big Mouth, we had a similar series not too long ago at North Point, and I was the host for that series. I was going to be week 1 host to let everybody in the congregation know what we were doing. And it's a pretty big crowd, so a lot of people from the community show up. Well, that week before the series started, I was in a rec league basketball game, which is obviously a pretty big deal. Both fans were very excited about this game. One was my 4-year-old. So, we're in this game, and this was the 3rd time we played this team because there aren't that many teams in the league. And there's this 20-year-old kid-ish who is mouthing off to me in game 1. And, first of all, this guy's half my age, so I'm thinking, the fact that I just blew by you should be ashamed of yourself. If you knew how old I am, you would be not saying this stuff. Anyway, so this guy, game 1, mouthing off to me, and my filter worked. Game 2, mouthing off to me, wouldn't shut his mouth. I'm thinking, you need to shut up, bro. But I didn't say anything. Filter worked. Game 3, filter broke. Filter broke pretty good. Pretty tidal wave through the filter. He's saying stuff to me, talking about me, saying whatever he's saying, and he comes running at me, and I just grabbed him, sort of like got close to him, and I said, I need you to shut the blankety blank up, So I know, don't judge me. And I put this combination of words together, which, by the way, have you ever heard or put together a combination of curse words that you're like, I'm not even sure how that became a combination of those words? That doesn't even make sense if you think about it, but I did. I said this to him, and then this big guy on his team heard me say it. And the big guy came up to me, and he told me how he would kill me in certain words, added words to it, And I took one look, and he was huge. I took one look, I was like, You probably would, bro. You probably would. That's cool. That's cool. Back off, That ended that. But then I went home and I was studying my notes for this series I was about to host. And I looked at it, I was like, me and my big mouth. Oh, this is terrible. And I thought, man, that dude's probably going to be at church. And I'm going to be standing up here going, everybody watch your mouth, It's going to be terrible. So I practice, I get ready, and I stand up, and I say, hey, welcome to church. We're glad you're here. We're starting this new series called Me and My Big Mouth. A lot of times, as you sit in the audience, you think it's just for you, but really the truth is, this week it's probably more for me. Like, I need this as much as anybody out there. In fact, just this past week, I was at a rec league basketball game, and I let my mouth get out of control. I said some things I shouldn't have. And if you're here this morning, I just want to let you know, I'm so sorry for what I said to you. I'm not lying. I walk off the stage going this way. Dude slaps my leg. Hey, man. I look down. Big dude who threatened to kill me. He says, I didn't even recognize you. I'm sorry, too. My man. What's up? Man. But I'm telling you, this little thing inside of our mouth, it gets us into big trouble because this thing has power. It has power for good. It has power for evil. Everybody grab your tongue real quick. Just grab it a little bit. Just hold on to it. Touch your tongue. Some of you aren't touching your tongue. Touch your tongue. It's really small, okay? It's really tiny. Then say apple. Say apple. Yeah. Sounds inappropriate. I used to do that when I was a kid. I thought it would be funny. No, maybe not. This little thing has the power to build up, the power to tear down, and one of the problems is once whatever comes out of it, you can't put it back. It can't go back in. There's no rewind button on our tongue, on our mouth. And we're going to talk about that this morning, this idea of the power of the tongue. And before we get started, if you weren't here last week as we started the series, we learned this simple phrase that's really easy to say. It's really hard to do. It's easy to say. It's hard to do. Here's what it is. It's quick to listen, slow to speak. Quick to listen, slow to speak. Say it with me. Read it one time.
Quick to listen, slow to speak.
Do it again.
Quick to listen, slow to speak.
Man, I need that in my life, but I'm terrible at it. Like my marriage would be so much better if I was quick to listen and slow to speak. In my career, would be better. My friendships would be better. Like so many relationships would be better if I was quick to listen and slow to speak. But what I do instead is I want to be quick to speak and slow to listen. And when we do that, sometimes we clench our fists, right? In fact, I've been in arguments with my wife like once every couple minutes. And so we'll get in these moments where she's talking and I'm trying to listen, but my hands are starting to clench up like this because I got a good one loading up right here, And I'm like, oh no, zing, like that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm not really listening. And I can feel my hands clenching up because what happens if we close our hands and if we close our heart and we close our mind, we close our ears. And when we start to try and get in these arguments, when we're in arguments, see, we want the same thing the other person wants. We want them to listen, but we're clenching our fists. And so when we close our hands, we close our heart. When we close our heart, we close our mind. We close our mind, we close our ears. And what we're going to talk about this morning is this idea of practicing opening our hands as we try to be quick to listen. Because if we'll open our hands, we might just open our heart. If we open our heart, we might just open our mind. If we open our mind, we might just open our ears. So everybody put your hands up like this real quick. Just put them out. I know it's weird. I know it's like, what is this kooky thing we're doing? I don't want to do this. I know, exactly. You want to close them, don't you? Just open them up. Open up your hands and just say, quick to listen, slow to speak.
Quick to listen, slow to speak.
So easy to say. So daggum hard to do, right? So hard. But the truth is, why is this important? It's important because words are so incredibly powerful. Words are shaping people. Words that were spoken over you shaped you. Words that were spoken to you shaped you. Words that were spoken about you shaped you. When I was in 7th grade, my dad wanted to give me the sex talk. It didn't go well. I know why people don't give that talk to their kids. Because there's no manual, and you don't know what to say. And you're probably going to mess it up. So my dad starts like this. I remember this clear as day, 7th grade, sitting in his office, and he goes, well, I want to talk about dating. I was like, I'm in 7th grade. I ain't got that great a game right now. What you got? Tell me What you got? So my dad says, well, let's talk about dating. And he started like this. I remember it clear as day. He said, well, Darren, you're not the best looking guy in the world. Was that what was in the book? Like, this, who gave you that line? Like, it's not good. He goes, you're not the best looking guy in the world, but you're funny, so you'll probably get some dates. What the heck? Like, okay, I'm ugly, but I'm funny. Okay, got it. So I go through high school, literally, I went through all of high school thinking, I'm ugly, but I'm funny. I'm gonna go out there, tell these jokes, and get some dates, you know? Turns out I wasn't that funny either, you know, so it was a very unsuccessful career. But words shaped us, and if I'm honest, my words have shaped my marriage in a lot of ways. I mean, you guys don't know me, I don't know you, you know, judge me if you like. I don't know, I'll probably leave and you'll never see me again or whatever, but so I can tell you anything about me, okay? But the first 4 years of my marriage, we've been married almost 9 years, the first 4 years of my marriage, I shaped our marriage largely because I had a temper. And when I got angry, I couldn't control my tongue. And I would say things that were hurtful to the degree that my wife began to believe that that's where we were going to be stuck forever. It was very discouraging. It was very hopeless. And so it took like 4 years. And the reason I felt this, the reason this was happening is because I wasn't getting my way. You know, everything wasn't going so great, and I didn't get what I wanted, and I wanted to be heard, and I wanted somebody to listen to me, and I wanted someone to be quick to listen and slow to speak, and I was fighting all the time. It took a long time for us to get past that because words are powerful and words are heavy. Whoever said sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me, that's one of the dumbest things anybody could say. I don't know who you are. Sorry if I hurt your feelings for that, but that's not true. Words are powerful. They're hurtful. In fact, negative words carry more weight than positive words, don't they? When somebody says something negative, we hold on to it. In fact, my wife and I got into an argument. That morning, I said some things I shouldn't have said. And that night, we were going to church to this event about marriage. And we get there, we sit down, our whole small group is there who we're leading. And this guy goes, I want to talk tonight about your words and how they hurt people. I was like, oh, of course you do. You know, I mean, because we like walked into that thing like not talking to each other, like, you know, I'm so mad at you and blah, blah, blah. And he starts and he says, there's this passage of scripture that talks about the fact that words, hurtful words, are a stab. They're a stabbing wound. And when you stab somebody, it's immediate, right? When you get stabbed, it hurts right away. He said, but your healing words take longer. So what he was saying is, hurtful words carry more weight because they happen immediately and the pain starts instantly. Healing words aren't even as strong because it takes a longer time for them to even take effect. It's like when you cut your arm, you don't put some Neosporin on it and just, you're not Wolverine. You know, it's not like just, I'm healed automatically. You know, so it takes longer. And so words carry more weight. That's why some of us are carrying around pain from the past that we still can't get over. Because that parent said that thing all the time, or that sister, or that brother, or that friend, or that ex-husband or ex-wife said those things that you're still thinking, is that true about me? Is that still something that's true? Or you're still carrying that negativity? Because negative words carry more weight. Not only do the words carry more weight, the source carries more weight. Isn't this true? Who says it matters? You know, a boss saying something to you about your work effort carries more weight than a peer saying something to you about your work. Moms, your words weigh way more. They weigh 1,000 pounds for your kids. And dads, for whatever reason, sometimes our words, they carry the most weight. Let me give you an example of this. Today, when I'm done with this, if some of you think I did a good job and you come to me and you say, that was really great. That was really awesome. Good job this morning. That'll be nice. I'll feel good about that. It'll be like, cool. But if later this afternoon, my wife runs her hands through my hair and says, boy, you were good this morning. That was so good. I was so impressed. I was like, oh, okay, girl, okay. Like, that's the weight of the words I want. Those are the ones I'm looking for. See, I'm looking for those words just like you're looking for those words from different sources because the source carries more weight just like the words carry more weight, which is why if a very important person says some very hurtful things, you can't just say, I'm sorry and have it be over. You can't just say, and the person who said the words wants to say, hey, I said I'm sorry. Let's get over it. I apologize. I said I'm sorry. Why can't we move on? Words don't work like that. You can't just put good words on top of bad words and have it heal the situation. It's just like if I were to slam your hand into a car door, just slam it accidentally, and just, we open it, and it's mangled right there, and I go, hey man, I'm really sorry about that. That's not going to fix your hand. I'm sorry doesn't fix the pain. I'm sorry doesn't change the fact that I mangled your fingers. You still got to go to the emergency room. You got to wait. It's going to take some time. And the same thing is true about our words. Our words are so powerful, and our negative words are even more powerful than our positive words. And we're going to look this morning at this idea of our words, the power of our words. And next week we're going to talk about the fact that words can be of great good as well. But this week we're going to focus on the destructive power that our words can have. Now, the reason that we're going to do this is because, why are we doing this? What's the point? The point is this. These are simple words to understand. We're all going to agree. Even if you didn't grow up in church, if you're not a church person, if you're not into the church, you're going to probably nod your head and go, agreed, agreed, agreed. This isn't a hard lesson this morning, but it's really hard to apply. And for many of us, if we had done this, if we'd applied this, our greatest relational regrets might have been avoided if we had taken heed to these extraordinary words. The greatest, most difficult things in our life might have been avoided. Here's why we're doing this morning. What if we do heed these words moving forward? Some potential regret in your relationships that is still sitting out there to walk into can also be avoided. So the answer is quick to listen, slow to speak. Quick to listen, slow to speak. Quick to listen, slow to speak. So we're going to be in a passage in James chapter 3, verses 2 through 12. It's about 10 verses. James is a great person, a great book, a place to start. If you have never read the Bible, you're not into the Bible, you're not sure about the Bible, it's a great place to start because it's just practical advice, and it's written by the half-brother of Jesus. Now I have two brothers. And James is going to claim that Jesus is Lord of all. I don't know what it would take to get my brothers to admit that I am Lord of all. It would never happen. I mean, they're one younger, one older, and there's no way that they're going to write a letter to the world saying, we just want you to know Darren is Lord of all. That would never happen. And yet that's what we're reading. This is James, the brother of Jesus, claiming that his brother is Lord of all. That's got to be worth something. If if you have some doubts about whether or not this is true, maybe at least go, James, his brother, said he was Lord. That's weird. That's crazy. So we're going to be in James. It's also very practical teaching to help you kind of live your life. And the point of this is really to help us, not to hold us back. This is to help us move forward. Now, the first thing we're going to read, we're going to all agree with. I guarantee you. We're all going to agree with this. We're going to like this. This first thing, it says this. We all stumble in many ways. You're not overwhelmed. Okay, you are. Okay. We all stumble in many ways. We all can nod our head and go, yep, agreed. And those of us with bad filters, we stumble in more ways probably. But we all stumble in many ways. So then he goes on to say this. Anyone who's never at fault with what they say is perfect, able to keep their whole body in check. James's point, your tongue, your mouth, what you say is incredibly difficult to control. He even says it's more than any other part of your body. This is the most difficult part of your body to control. And some of you are like, I don't know about that. I mean, there's other. This is it. This is the tongue is the most difficult of all the parts of the body. This is the one where temptation is the most. Yes, this is the most. If you can control your tongue, you can do anything. You can control anything because this thing, it's wild, and it'll do crazy stuff. Right? So we're saying, James, give us some proof. What are you talking about? So he says this. He says, well, when we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal around. We can move the whole animal. So he says there's this little part. So I'm not a horse person. I didn't grow up with horses. My wife grew up with horses. And so apparently you put this small thing in a horse's mouth and it will do whatever. So recently we have a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old girl and they wanted to go horseback riding. And I was like, I'm afraid of horses, because they're big and, I like go see them at camp, but all they said was don't walk behind the horses. The horse will kill you. Like if you walk behind it, it'll buck you, you'll die. So don't do that. So I'm always like, okay, if the horse over there, I'm like, hey, we have to walk over here because they'll kill you. So don't do that. And so I'm afraid of these horses. So I'm thinking, okay, my little girl, she's like tiny. She's going to go ride this huge horse. And so I'm like, I don't know about this. It's a little bit nerve-wracking for me because you're tiny. It's huge. It's probably going to stomp you. You know, I want to keep you. You know, I like you. And so I'm nervous about it. And so we go and we show up, and this friend of ours, Leanne, who rides horses, puts the bit in the mouth, puts a rope on it, and hands it to my kid. My 5-year-old kid. I'm like, that horse is not going to go where my 5-year-old wants it to go. But check this out. Look at this. This is my little one holding this horse. And the horse is just like, whatever you say, little one, you know, like just, I'll go wherever you go, right? And check this next picture. Look how tiny she is compared to the horse. Look at that. I mean, what in the world? That horse could just, you know, end it right now. And this little kid is a little bit just like, you got to come this way. And the horse is like, all right, I'll go this way. Little tiny part, huge impact. Little tiny part, massive impact. That's his point. Like James is like, you don't like beasts? You don't like horses? Let's talk about boats. How about boats, okay? You guys have been on boats before. He says this. He says, actually, sorry. I got to show you this next picture. Go back to the other. This is my other daughter, okay? Also on a horse. I have to be able to say I put both kids up on the screen, okay? So I can't. A lot of fighting, you know, if not. So this is the other one, and she's also on a horse, crushing it, also nervous about her. She's having a great time. Her name is Collins. I said her name out loud. Now she gets bonus points. So he says, you don't like beasts? Let's talk about boats, right? So we go to the boat. He says, okay, take ships for an example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they're steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot wants to go. His point is, you might have massive winds, you might have change of pace of how fast you're going or where the wind wants to take you, but you turn that small rudder, you turn that guy, and it'll change the whole direction of the boat. Little tiny part, massive change, massive impact. And what's the idea James is getting at here with these first two illustrations? He's saying, listen, small part, big influence. Small part, big influence. He's saying, listen, there's a small part, but it can have an enormous impact on the direction of the beast, of the boat. He's going to argue of your body, the whole person. I don't know. My wife and I had a discussion about that. I said it was going to be funny. She said it was not going to be funny. So I win. But filter, right? Pay for that later. No, she's the greatest human in the whole world. So, and he's going, if this is true of a horse, if it's true of a boat, it's true of your body, it's true of your person, right? And he goes on, he says this, the tongue's the same way. Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. He's trying to drive home a point. Your tongue is powerful. Your tongue is powerful. Your tongue is powerful. You ever been in a conversation with somebody where they're talking and talking and talking and you've already got it? You're like, I got it. And you can stop talking. The lesson is clear. That's enough. That's where I am with James right now in this passage. I'm like, got it, James. The tongue's a problem. It can steer my life. I got to be careful. And James is like, you don't got it yet. You don't got it. Let me tell you what else. He says, consider a great forest. What a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. And you know, I was preparing for this, and I was reading through this, and I was like, I'm going to be in Santa Rosa sharing this message. I should leave this part out. But then I thought, no. What other place on the planet right now knows more than they do about the truth of this statement? That a small spark can cause vast destruction. That it can ruin lives. It can ruin real estate. It can ruin hopes and dreams. It can mess up a whole community. Like a small little spark, a tiny little thing, massive impact. And that's what James is getting at. This little tiny thing in your mouth that's like 4 inches long. It can make a massive difference. He says the tongue is just like a fire. He says this, the tongue itself is also a fire. Like it has the power to destroy inside of it. You keep going. The tongue is also a fire. It says there's a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, right? Corrupts the whole body, the tongue does. In fact, this is true. We know this because we know what the tongue does, right? I mean, the tongue can cause people to be brainwashed into becoming Seattle Seahawks fans. It has that kind of power. That is ridiculous. But on a more serious note, The tongue can cause anxiety in people, insecurity in people. The tongue can cause divorce. The tongue can cause wars. Tongue can begin murders. The tongue has incredible powers to do incredibly powerful things. And if it's not controlled, those things will happen. And we say, quick to listen, slow to speak. Quick to listen, slow to speak, because the tongue is powerful. And we know that it gets the whole body in trouble because nobody, when your little kid mouths off to you, you don't put the mouth in timeout. You don't go, hey, you can stay here, but take your mouth to your room. You can stay here. A principal doesn't suspend a mouth. Principal's not like, hey, bro, you can't do that in class. Your mouth has to stay home. You can come, but the mouth, nobody divorces a mouth. I mean, I like you generally, but your mouth got to go. Like, nobody divorces a mouth. It's the whole body that gets in trouble. The mouth gets everything in trouble. Your mouth doesn't just get your mouth in trouble. Your mouth gets your whole body in trouble. Your mouth is getting more than just the mouth in trouble. The mouth is powerful. It's like, okay, I got it. And James is trying to get us to go, okay, listen, you've got to understand this. As your words go, so goes your relationships. As your words go, so go your career. As your words go, so go your future. As your words go, so goes your life. And we say, well, I said I was sorry. I didn't mean it. I didn't want to. And I was just angry when I said it. And I didn't mean to. And I was just drunk. I had too much to drink. And I didn't mean to say that. And that's probably true. You probably didn't mean to say it. But the truth is, you know this. You guys are smart. If you set something on fire, and you start a fire, you're still responsible for that fire, even if it was an accident. And that's true with your words. Even if the words you said, you didn't mean them, you're still responsible for the words that come out of your mouth, the words that come out of my mouth, which is why I have to practice quick to listen, slow to speak. Quick to listen, slow to speak. And at this point in the message, it is like, James, I've got it. And he's like, no, there's more. He says this, in fact, he says, and it itself is set on fire by hell. He's saying the tongue itself is like full of evil. It's not like real hell. It's not like, you stuck your tongue in a place of, and then it set it on fire. He's just saying that, listen, there's like an evil inside of us. Like all of us have this thing that's like the tongue itself is set on fire by this evil. Like it just wants to do evil sometimes. And we all have said things where it's like, why did I say that? Why am I talking about him like that? Why am I so angry about that? Like, because the tongue, it's like, there's just evil attached to it somehow. It's a reality for us. And so then you're like, okay, James, got it. And James is like, no, I want to talk about animals now. Now let's talk about animals. Like, James, I'm getting tired of this message myself, It's like, he says this, all kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and sea creatures are being tamed and have been tamed by mankind, but no human being can tame the tongue. He's basically just saying, we don't live in Jurassic Park. We've kind of controlled the animals. Like we know what to do with mosquitoes. We know what to do with snakes. We keep the lions where the lions are supposed to be. We figured that out with the animals. But nobody can tame this thing. Nobody can tame the tongue. That's how powerful it is. In fact, he says it's a restless evil full of deadly poison. Have you ever noticed your tongue never gets tired? You ever notice that? Like when you're tired at night and you're like, I gotta lay down. You're never like, man, my tongue is tired. Like my body's tired, I'm tired, but my tongue is ready to go. I wish the rest of my body was like my tongue, because my tongue's always ready. I can say, blah, 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 I can just always. Like no one's ever said, my tongue is so tired. Maybe chewing peanut butter, but that's about it. Like your tongue never gets tired. It's always like ready to go. It's a restless evil is what James has said. James, okay, I got it, bro. And he's like, no, I got something else to say. I got something else to say about the tongue. He says this, with the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse human beings who have been made in God's likeness. So it's like, okay, so we come to church maybe and we go, I love God, how about you? I love God, yes I do. And like, then we go to lunch. We're like, can you believe her? Oh, she's disgusting. I hate her. I can't stand him. Oh my gosh, did you hear what they did? I love God, but I hate his people. Doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm I'm speaking two different ways out of the same mouth. And he's going, this is not normal. This is not natural. It's like a magic trick that your tongue is doing, because let me ask you some questions. And he says, this is what happens. Out of the mouth comes the same praise and cursing. The same mouth, praise and cursing. And he asks questions. He says this, simple questions, but he says, my brothers and sisters, this should not be. You know why it shouldn't be? Because look at the rest of life. Can both fresh water and salt water come from the same spring? And they're like, no, James, we know that. That's a dumb question. We know that. He says, let me ask this question. What about fig trees? What about my brothers and sisters, can a fig tree bear olives or a grapevine bear figs? What an appropriate question for this part of the world. Can this happen? No. You're like, no, of course not. You can't do that. Neither can a salt spring produce fresh water. And James is like giving basic stuff in nature. And they're like, yeah, what's your point? He's like, nowhere else in nature do you see this issue where the one thing produces two very opposite things. But your mouth does. Your mouth has good things and bad things that come out of it. This shouldn't be. This can't be. We've got to figure something out. What do we do? Quick to listen, slow to speak. Quick to listen, slow to speak. And then, finally, James comes to the end. Some of you are like, praise God. Finally. And you're thinking, okay, James, tell me what to do. What do I do with this idea that, okay, the mouth is powerful, it's full of evil, it directs my life, it controls my destiny, it can do terrible things, I've been hurt, I've hurt people. Like, what do I do to get this terrible problem under control? And James is like, that's it. He doesn't say. He just moves on, something else. You're like, whoa, James, bro, what do I do? Like, how do I fix it? How do I get to maturity? Like, is there a certain age I have to reach? Is there a button to push? Is there like a couple prayers to say? Is there something I can do to tame this tongue and to get rid of this problem? And I think James's point is this. Listen, I just want you to know this is a lifelong problem. This is forever. You will always have to deal with your tongue. You will always have to guard against it. Your mouth is so messed up. It's a problem. And it's going to be a problem the rest of your life. You will never reach a part of your life where you go, now I got my mouth under control. No, your whole life is going to be quick to listen, slow to speak. Quick to listen, slow to speak. I'm sorry, I wasn't quick to listen, slow to speak. You're going to constantly have to guard against your mouth. And the point that James is trying to make, he's trying to help us feel the gravity of just how powerful this thing inside our mouth is. And here I wrote this little sentence to maybe help us remember, but James wants us to pay attention to the powerful potential of this pint-sized part. James wants us to pay attention to the powerful potential of this pint-sized part that we walk around with every single day. And I was tempted, because James gives you no answer, no solution, to do the same thing. You know, I don't know you guys. Nice to meet you. Your tongue is messed up. See ya. You know? So, good luck. You figure it out. But I thought I'd do a little something to try and help us think through what we can do next to apply something to this problem. So I'm going to give you 3 words to maybe just think about. And the words are remember, surrender, confess. Remember, surrender, confess. Remember just means you've got to remember the power of your words. You've got to remember that somebody is listening to what you say, and your words are powerful to them, especially when you're frustrated, when you're angry, when you're a little wound up. Always remember that your words have the power to shape people's lives. So we got to remember. Second word is to surrender. If this is true that these words are so powerful, if it's true that and you know it's true. We know it's true. You carry pain around with you. People that you know carry pain that you've induced on them. We know this is true. If this is true, then we've got to give this tongue to someone who can handle it. There's a passage in Romans where Paul is writing about this newfound idea that he's become a follower of Jesus, and he says, I have to commit all the members of my body, surrender them as a living sacrifice to God, the members of my body. I have to give them to him. So sometimes I'll just say, God, today, wherever you want my feet to go, I'll go. God, whatever you want my hands to touch, I'll touch. God, whatever you want my eyes to see, help me to see what you want me to see. Help me to listen to what you want me to listen to. God, help me to say what you want me to say. God, my mouth is yours, my ears are yours. God, I'm going to struggle with this today. I already know before the day ever starts, this is going to be a struggle. But God, will you help me to to manage my mouth. So a simple prayer, and you may not pray a whole lot. You may be a person who doesn't pray a whole lot. That's okay. But what I know about you is this. When I show you this prayer in just a second, you want the people in your life and the people around you, you want them praying this. You want them to pray what we're going to pray. So why not join them? Why not just say this simple prayer? Maybe just try it for a week and see what happens. The prayer is this: Heavenly Father, I believe God is a God who loves us as a father, as a good father. Remind me to be quick to listen and slow to speak. Heavenly Father, remind me to be quick to listen and slow to speak. You can say it with me.
Heavenly Father, remind me to be quick to listen, slow to speak.
You can open your hands when you pray that. That can be the way you start your day. It can be what you do after a tough conversation. So we've got to remember, we've got to surrender, and we've got to confess. Because the truth is, you're going to mess this up. And the best illustration I can give you right now from pop culture is our boy Snoop Dogg. Right? Snoop just came at Gayle King over the Kobe Bryant thing, went on Instagram and just came at her with his words and said, you better shut your mouth, blankety blank, or we're coming for you. And Gayle King is like miserable, depressed, discouraged, scared, because those words crushed her from a powerful source, powerful words crushing her. And somebody got in Snoop Dogg's head and said, hey bro, that ain't right. And so he goes back on Instagram. He says, talk to my mama. And she said, I shouldn't talk like that. And she's right. That was inappropriate. I was upset. I was frustrated. I want to come back and apologize. Now listen, I know you didn't expect Snoop Dogg to teach you anything this morning. But take a book out of his page. We've got to confess and just admit we were wrong. That's my bad. I shouldn't have said that. It won't heal immediately, but if you practice that on the regular basis, it's going to change your relationships. If you will admit, that was my fault. And I'll close with this. You know, kids in the room, and that would be all of us. All of us have parents, or we had parents. We've been kids. Your words are important to your parents. Your parents would love to hear you praise them. They'd love to hear you talk positively about them. And you say, oh, it's just mom, it's just dad. There's no such thing as just mom or just dad. They are a person who has feelings, who wants to be encouraged by their young kids. And parents, your kids, you say, they don't listen to me. Oh, yes, they do. They're listening like you. They may not obey, but they're listening. And the words you speak over them are shaping what they think about themselves. Your positivity is important. Your negativity is powerful. Parents, we've got to be careful what we say to our kids. Women in the room, I know you think us men, well, you probably don't think this, but we act like we're tough. We act like we can handle anything. That is false. We are weak. We are needy. And the words you say to us have incredible power to build us up or discourage us. And we need the women in our life to tell us we got it. And men in the room, what are we doing to our women? The words we speak over them have such tremendous power over their belief in who they are. We've got to decide today that we're going to honor women. We're going to honor women when we're in the presence of women. We're going to honor women when no other women are around. We're going to choose to honor women because isn't it true? That's the world you want your daughter growing up in. And that's the world you want your granddaughter growing up in. So we as men, we have to set the tone. We've got to choose to honor the women in our life. And some of you are walking around carrying a lot of pain from your past, from the words that were said, and you're going to be tempted, not just tempted, you're going to be inclined to repeat the cycle. I just want to encourage you to break the cycle. Break the cycle as you learn to say, quick to listen, slow to speak. This is kind of a downer today. Not going to lie. Nice to meet you. Your mouth is terrible. But the good news is, we're going to talk next week about the fact that your mouth also has incredible potential for good. And honestly, with a little practice at quick to listen, slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to speak, even though you can't tame it, even though you can't stop it, you will be able to somehow control it to some degree. And you can change your future. And my hope for you is that whatever regret you have from the past, the way your tongue has been, you can quit having those regrets in the future. You can stop yourself from further damage as you learn to be quick to listen and slow to speak. Don't miss next week when we talk about the positive impact the tongue can make. Let me pray for us. God, I'm probably the worst person in the whole world to give this message. As you know, my filter is broken and the things I say can be terribly damaging. But God, I pray that with your help and your power and your strength, you would help even me, the worst of the worst, to begin to be quick to listen and slow to speak. God, we don't want to damage the people around us. We don't want to cause terrible impact in their lives. God, we want to lift people up. But this thing inside of us that we carry around, it's so powerful. And it gets so loose sometimes. Help us, God. Help us with your strength to love the people around us with this powerful tool we have walking around. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you all for being here. Have a great day.